I'm Carlene, and this is Diva Tonight. I have a special guest with me. She she has many titles, Dr. Shelley Jones-Holt. She's a doctor in education. She's a leadership speaker. She also has a family business, which is something I think we definitely have to dig into, which is your leadership legacy consulting, I guess, agency in a way. Like, you help families, right? With what you do.
Carlene, it's an honor to be here, and I'm glad you found me and that we could be on the Divas show.
Yeah.
What I do is I started out as a teacher. I know we were just talking in the preamble show around being teachers and having that gift of wanting to give back and recognizing that I had a special talent in being able to help people other than myself understand information. I could take very complex information and make it so that people can learn it and understand it, which is essentially the role of a teacher, and that I elevated into leadership. And as I traveled that leadership journey from teacher to assistant principal, director, all the way to superintendent, as I traveled that journey, what I learned is a lot about myself and my own leadership capacities and capabilities and what I did and did not like to do. But I also learned a lot about families, and not only in starting my own, but in, the result of your family leadership shows up at the schoolhouse every day. How you run your household, as much as you might think you keep it at home, trust and believe. It comes to school with your kids every single day. And what I found over the years is that, not that my family is perfect. Please do not think that I'm saying this as I always have to give that disclaimer. Like, people going to come and look at my family like, you got your issues. Yes, I do. I promise you I do. But what I noticed is there were a lot of people that did not have the right priorities for parenting, or didn't understand what their role was as a family leader and where their role stopped and the school's role started, or vice versa. Right? There was almost this mentality like, I gave birth to this human being, and then between the ages of 0 and about 4.5, I did my part like they lived. And now I'm going to turn them over to you for all of the cultivation and nurturing that they need until they hit 18. And it's like, no, don't work that way. Yes, schools have gotten from just the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s to now feeding the kids, social emotional support, after school care, before school care, clothing. Like, there's so many different things that we're asking the schools to do. And what I realized after talking to parents is that they weren't sure about their job. And it became so clear to me. And I was like, this is a place where I can help in the nicest way possible, to be able to say, let's be clear about what the role of a family leader is and how that plays out. And a lot of that I learned and was able to bring to the table because of my role in educational leadership. So that's why I have the nonprofit, which focuses on family leadership and apprenticeship and entrepreneurship and home ownership and all of these different pieces that make your family run, that many folks in the communities I was working with didn't understand, right? And then you also have this part of my business, which is being the executive leadership coach. I have served as, the CEO of several organizations. So I do know how that works and some of the tips and tricks of the trade, but also some of the characteristics and growth model work to coach others to do the same. So that's who I am. It's what I love to do. And I do what I do in honor and in service of Black women, unapologetically. I am blackity, blackity, black, and I always will be. And that's, who I am.
I think that is one thing that differentiates women in America versus Canada. We define ourselves as Black, but we're not going to call it out like that. I think that's a very strong-minded Black female woman that you are, and that the way you present yourself, you know what I mean? Which is important because I'm Black myself. And I think the one thing that a lot of families struggle with is how they run the household. And as someone who lived in a household that was very dysfunctional, coming out from that, it's like I had to learn to parent myself because I didn't have like the best parents. And I thought about it the other day, like how long it's taken me to get here and to like get over all the dysfunction, the trauma and everything that was happening as I was growing up. And it's not just me. It's like how my mother was probably raised and her mother. And like you said, with what you do, with your community is helping families, because it starts in the home, right? And they say it takes a village to raise a child. And I believe it. Like, if you don't have a strong village to help you, it struggles, like, in many different facets. Mm-hmm.
You're right, it does. And I would argue that just as important as having the village is having a roadmap. Because here's the thing, you got a whole lot of people going in the wrong direction. Houston, you just got more people in the problem because you still have a problem. You know what I mean? And I agree with you. The difference. I used to live in Michigan, and which is obviously right next to Canada, and there is a very distinct difference, especially being from where I'm from and why I am so closely attuned with my identity. Part of our work in family leadership is encouraging others to do the same. I want my folks to talk about and be proud of their heritage, because that's part of the leadership journey and the leadership responsibilities of families, is to teach their children what is their heritage, where did we come from, what are our values, right? But if you are not even getting that at home, at least if you knew that, hey, this is what personal leadership is. At least if my parents, I can go figure it out myself. And that's where having a structure to what family leadership is can help even our young people who are in situations that you kind of referenced where that you had no control over that. You weren't going to be able to do anything about that. And it may not have elevated to the level where the authorities, quote unquote, need to get involved. And so you're in this strange position where you're not necessarily getting what you need emotionally, spiritually, possibly sometimes physically, but it's not to such an extent where you have options of where you can go. And so what other recourse do we have other than the power of not just the village, but education and an educated village that knows this is what she's going to get at school. And I can be assured that this is what's going to happen. And this is what I am responsible for at home. And, I saw something today. I haven't fact checked it because I saw it literally as I was at a stoplight a little bit before we had this meeting. So
No
I have
way.
not had a chance
Oh my gosh.
to check. But I saw an executive order from our amazing, new administration that's saying now they're going to give people permission to whoop the kids in school again.
Wow.
And which kind of made me go, I have not fact checked this, y'all. Please don't get on there saying that show's spreading. I'm telling you right now, I happened to see it at a stoplight. We're on a call and it's bringing this to mind. But the reason it's bringing it to mind is if you still believe that the school's job is to teach your child how to behave and to deal with whatever behaviors that your child brings. I mean, they're trying to tell us in the strongest way possible, that's not the school's job. And if that thing is real that I saw today at the stoplight, what it basically means is there's a whole body of work that we as families need to do, and our children need to know what that work is. And so that's what we talk about is the 5 parts to family leadership. Everybody has to do their part in all 5. That's personal leadership, knowing who you are, relational leadership, knowing how to deal with others, right? Because that's important. You also have financial leadership. You need to know how to do something with that money besides spending. Spending is one part of the 4-part equation of spend, budget, invest, and save, right? And then you have home leadership, how to turn a house into a home. That's an actual skill. Like having chore charts and, knowing when to change the air filters and who's going to do the dishes and who's cooking. Like those are all things you need to organize and have some leadership of. And then finally, there is school, which is the professional career leadership. That's the only thing the school is supposed to help you with. Yet, if I were to put that on my thumb, people are trying to hitchhike their way through life and on school, what the school's supposed to do. But it's like, wait a minute. All these other 4 are the responsibilities of the home. And where at a certain extent, as an administrator in the schools, I would hear our teachers and their frustration and I feel them. And on the one hand, there's well, you shouldn't think like that because that's considered, you don't understand what they're going through and our job is to teach. And that is yes, that is true. But there is also a side of this where it's like, well, is there some merit to what they're saying? In that they can only do their jobs best when these other pieces that are the responsibility of the home are taken care of. And if nobody's talking about what that is, if no one's sharing with our families and we can't even agree on what those things are in a general sense. Because notice I didn't say what religion you had to be in. I didn't say,
Yeah.
what your sexual, I didn't say anything about that. Race, nothing. This is just basics of of being a human being, right? And being able to lead yourself. If nobody is talking about that, then no wonder we're so confused. No wonder there's so many challenges. And as the divas, we really got to think about how are we going to take this bull by the horns and go ahead and whip it into shape. Because otherwise, we're going to keep losing our kids, losing our households, and doing what? Waiting on the government to fix it? Good luck, right? Oh, you waiting for Superman or Superwoman? Well, okay, let me know how that works out. It's you, boo. You got to do it.
Yeah, yeah. It's that thing where you got to take care of you first before anybody else. Like, and even if it's your family. And we're talking about family, how to run a household properly, and education, how I guess they run hand in hand, but I think you obviously have to educate your children at home. But before we get any further with that, I am talking to you. So I think we need to figure out more about you and what you do and how you got here, right? There's more to Shelley than the organization. I mean, obviously, kudos to you for creating this environment. This is amazing. I think it's organized, and obviously organization is key in life. Routine is key. Like you said, things don't always run smoothly, but you are very passionate about helping others and making sure that things are done in a certain way to help, like you said, Black women, Black families. And we always need more help in that way, because like a lot of minority groups struggle, but I think we struggle a lot more. Even, yes, we do. So,
and let me be clear about why I formulated this whole ideology around Black families. And there's a concept known as the curb cut effect. And what the curb cut effect is, it's this idea that if you're trying to solve a problem, you want to begin to create solutions for where the problem is at its worst. Right. So here's the idea where it came from is back in the 70s. Many folks don't know that here in the United States, we did not have, how you walk down the sidewalk and you have those cuts in the curb that where you can where cars can come in, or, even on the sidewalk, if you're walking and it goes down, like that wasn't always the case. That was actually something that had to be fought for. It came up as through the Americans with Disabilities Act, where people with wheelchairs were saying, "Hey, we can't even go down, walk." And I'm using air quotes, down the street because there's nowhere for us to keep going. We have to go around and do all this stuff. And so the city of Berkeley was like, you know what? That sounds like a huge problem. Let's, consider, we're asking for you to cut the curbs in such a way where we can walk wheelchairs up. And it was a huge issue, most likely most of it related to funding, because now they were going to have to cut all these curbs. And, that was going to cost taxpayers money. But here's the idea behind the curb cut effect. Yes, it was designed and created for people with wheelchairs. But by designing it and creating it for people with wheelchairs, there are many other groups that benefited. Imagine people that were walking with baby strollers, anybody that's delivering groceries or supplies, or delivery trucks that have to take those dollies up. You have people that were blind that now could tell where things ended, and now they have the bumps on them where they've added that on, and so you have all of these different tangential impacts that were really good from the cutting the curb, but cutting the curb was designed for people with wheelchairs. So where am I going with this? Come back to the issue of why I designed my program around African Americans and African American families. Well, I had the choice of looking at possibly Japanese families based on the Japanese internment camps and what had happened over the years and how the Japanese community had to revive itself from there. I'm looking at various other immigrant groups from, Jewish groups to Afghan Afghan groups to Armenian groups. Like I had all these different groups that I could have looked at. And what it came down to was looking at how much and how long the families of a certain group had been impacted and where did we see the worst impacts. And no matter what I looked at as far as the research, and I know I get really nerdy, this is part of me, is the nerdy research woman, right? But part of what I wanted to do, I mean, there was a part of me that I had this gut, cardiac assessment, if you will, that I think Black American families are going to be the ones I need to focus on the most. But let me go look and make sure because I don't want to, inadvertently imply or apply the curb cut effect where it doesn't work or where it's not best applied. So I looked at all of that, and lo and behold, when you look at in particular American culture, over the years that America has been in existence, there is no other group that has suffered more direct impact, more direct targeting for negative consequences, if you will, for negativity than African Americans in this country. And so it just made sense. So we just started looking at, well, what are some of the areas where we have the biggest issues? So we put all of that out there. And then I wanted to see all the just big categories, because in order to make something applicable to all, you focus on that group as the one with the issues and you want to point out all the issues, then we categorize them so that we can basically talk about these larger categories. And the larger categories are applicable to most, whereas the individual things are only applicable to that group. And so using the curb cut effect as the basis, I was able to look and say, all right, let's pick the group that has the most impact on their families and their family dynamics and have had the most negative consequences as a result, and are in the worst position, if you will, as a result of all this. And African Americans came up. And then when I looked at this internationally, whether it was Germany, Canada, Mexico, there was definitely if you look at wealth numbers by hue of ethnicity. And so you notice that the darker the hue, the lower the amount of wealth for that group. And so that's where I was able to do it for countries like Italy or England or places where it's a little bit bigger and it's a little bit more homogeneous. And so when I looked at all that and came up with it, I realized that, you know what? My whole goal in life, from my upbringing, from my parents, from anything else, has always been wanting to help and to serve and to create something that can help people be better people. Can we people better, please? And is there any way I can do to help? And when I realized that all this learning that I've been doing all these years, and I love to learn, I love it feeds me. I love to learn. And so all this learning, I could now, degrees from some very prestigious universities around leadership. And now I can apply that to something that was very near and dear to my heart, like the family. And whoa, like that we talked earlier in the pre-show about finally feeling like I have something that gives me purpose. Because even though I've led organizations, even though I'm a mom of 8, I have a wife.
Mom of 8. Wow. I mean, I knew you had quite a big family from what I read, but I didn't realize.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Wow. How are you here right now? How is she here?
Fine.
And oh my gosh.
They are literally over in the house they're literally waiting for me to finish this. So they're like, oh, Mom, you're making meatloaf, right? So yes, these hands are going to go squish the meatloaf, then I'll be back over here to do some more work.
Right. So this series that I'm working on is called This is 40. And I'm talking to women in their 40s. Are you in that wheelhouse?
Girl, yes, I am. Yeah. I sure am.
All right. Awesome. That's great. And you have 8. How do you do it?
First of all, we have to be organized. And this is where the leadership comes in. My husband and I are partners. And I hate to say it and keep harping on it. We do write things out. Like, honey, I can't figure out who has this and who has that and who's picking up who. And we have to have things mapped out. And so many families, it's like, you do this at work. Even if people that the local plumber has a calendar and a schedule. I just want y'all to know the electrician has a schedule. right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever blue collar job you could think of where you're not thinking that pencil and paper or computers are involved. I promise you, they have those things. Yet somehow, some way, we believe we can run our family without having a schedule or something. And so that's how we do it. And that's
Yeah.
what made me turn a lot of this into my family work.
Diva Tonight. Glamour for your ears. This is 40, a female perspective.
I'm Carlene, and this is Diva Tonight. So we were talking about your family and how in order to run a household, you have to be organized, you know, even the plumber who comes to fix your faucet, you know what I mean? He has a schedule of which houses he's going to go to that day, which is true. You know, I started watching, what's her name? She's like the clutter bug lady. She's so cool.
Oh, Marie Kondo?
Yeah, I think so. Because she does everything based on like the way she organizes people's homes or she helps organize. She's on YouTube and she's the clutter bug because she calls people.
Okay.
Yeah. So pretty much there's the bee, the clutter bug, like there's different personalities.
Yes,
like, you know?
I know you're,
Oh, you know, yeah. So, I mean, even her, like all these things, organizing your pantry. So I'm learning from her too, because like I'm organized, but I'm scatterbrained. So I have to do certain things too. And like you said, writing things down is crucial, you know,
right.
like with
Having
memory.
a plan.
Yeah, having
Writing
a plan.
it down, having a plan. Like, you know, one of the things that people ask me, like, having 8 kids, how do you do it? And I said, well, one of the things that we do is we schedule 3 dates a year, if you will, that are individual dates that we have with our kids, each of our kids. So, you know, 3 times a year, we know that they know that they're going to get like just us time. And so it'll be a day, maybe we'll surprise them and go pick them up. My husband and I will get together and we're like, okay, well, this is AJ's day. All right, great. And we'll grab them and we'll go do go-karts and eat ice cream and you know and then but the purpose of the day is to have fun and to realize that everybody needs a little bit of individual attention and sometimes you just got to steal those moments when you can, but also to have a conversation with them where we're asking them about their hopes and their dreams and their goals and the things that they feel like they're doing well in and where we can help them and support them and do better as parents. And it's really a beautiful conversation that over time now we've tried through the program to like codify it so that we can give people like a list of questions and starters to open up these kind of conversations and make sure that you plan these moments with your young people so that you know who they are. You know how they've shifted and changed. Like my daughter has wanted to be a veterinarian. She's wanted to be, I think she wants to be all these things. She wants to be
High achiever.
a chef, a pastry chef of some sort, a veterinarian. What else did she tell me recently? Oh yeah, she's going to make Crocs, you know, those decorative Crocs that people have with all the bells and whistles and beads and stuff. I mean, she has all of these dreams of what she wants to do, right? But how I wouldn't know that if I really didn't take the time to sit and listen to her. And I actually write this stuff down. And then when we're looking at, all right, where are we going to do? What lessons are you going to do? What sports are you going to play? What are you interested in? Are you interested in theater? We've got to talk this out because if you want to do drama and this kid wants to do tennis and this kid I want everybody to be able to do what they want to do, but I need to be able to know so I can schedule all this out and make sure you all get the experiences that you want. And also, if you're into something, I can look it up. But we don't really take that kind of time. And I would ask the audience, like, think about it. In the last month, how much time have you taken with any one of your kids individually to get to know where they are, how they're feeling, what are their hopes, what are their dreams, what's changed, what are they excited about for the summer? And those are the kind of things that I think help us make the house run, because not only do we have a plan and we have schedules and such, but we also spend intentional time with each of our kids and each other to keep, you know, these leadership tenets at the forefront.
Right. And so with your organization, obviously your household, you organize it as best as you can. I'm sure you have a planner and everyone has their set chores and that kind of thing just to keep everything going. But how do you help families? Do you have workshops? Because what I see here is that, you know, when you were talking earlier about how everything runs together, like parenting and how you work on your finances and like how everything all in one. You know what I mean? Like your personal life, your financial life, your mental health, like, you know, they all
Yeah,
kind of run together. So I think
they all do.
basically, yeah. And so it seems like with your organization, you help other families
Yes.
structure their life in an
That's basically
organized
it.
way,
Yep.
pretty much, right?
That's pretty much it. So I've done several 1 day seminars. So I'll have like church groups that'll bring me out, or local city councils will want to do like a family day or a family leadership day for their community. And so they'll bring me out and I'll do my 1 day workshop. And what ends up happening is I introduce the concept of family leadership, and then they get a little booklet to begin to set goals for their family. And for some people, they're like, well, what is this? You know, they're kind of like, I'm not sure. But for many others, it's like, oh my gosh, I've never thought about this. I've
Yeah.
never sat
Mm-hmm.
here and said, like, what are the personal leadership goals that I have for myself, for my own health and well-being? Like, we are in our 40s. If somebody's not going through menopause, well, let me tell you a little, we can do a whole nother show about what that's
Yeah.
going to bring. Because
Yes,
all of
we
us are going to
will.
go through it. And let me
Mm-hmm.
tell you, when, not if, you start to lose your mind during menopause or premenopause, you're going to want that schedule because you're not going to want to talk about it. You're going to want folks to know what the expectations are. You're going to want folks to be able to almost be on autopilot sometimes because you're dealing with your own personal summer or your own personal whatever is going on, because the hormonal changes are huge. And we don't necessarily, part of the reason I'm talking about this on this show is because it shows up for us, especially as women in our 40s, in a very different way when it's not together. And then we want to look at everybody else, get upset with everybody else, and not always want to look and say, well, did I set this up right? Did I even give people the idea? Did I even introduce the conversation about, did I even set the expectation? But that's real hard to do when your hormones are absolutely insane and you may not have gotten, your medicine or whatever it is you need to
Oh my
balance you out.
goodness. Wow.
Girl,
I'm
like,
like,
yeah,
girl,
like
I
it's deep.
Dr. Shelley, I'm like blown away. I think there was a reason we connected, because I think, like you said, we are definitely going to have more than one conversation, even if it's like families, for sure. Like, it's important to help families, but I think even like single moms, like how to structure your household on your own. You know what I mean? Because as a Black woman, a
I've
lot of
done it.
Black women are,
I've been
yeah.
I mean, and that's tough. I love what you're
Mhm.
bringing up because whether like that's what I do is I do workshops with groups that want to bring me out. I also we are just launching our online program because I've been really hesitant about doing this stuff online because I do like that personal connection with folks,
Yeah.
but especially as you talk about something as intimate and personal as their family. But we are launching our first webinar later this month, or next month, and I believe May 30th is it's going to be 30th or May 31st. I'd have to ask my assistant to the date, but we're going to launch our first webinar to do this in an online course. And so that
Wow.
anybody can come together and we bring together family leaders. And when I tell you, it is so beautiful to see folks that go, oh my God, I thought I was the only one. And you have a couple in Alabama talking to a couple in Washington State, talking to a couple in DC, talking to a couple in Michigan. And, one's Asian, one's a lesbian couple, one's a gay male couple, some have kids, some don't. And we're all talking about how to be better humans. We're all talking about how to be better family leaders. We're all talking about the love and the struggles and the challenges, not only to love one another, but also sometimes to love ourselves. That is powerful.
Yeah. Wow. You're like answering some of my questions. I mean, like, what roles does community play in your life? Obviously, it plays many roles because you're
Huge.
bringing many communities together with
Yeah. Well,
with your
and
workshops, right? Yeah.
yeah, and like community for me, I think there's something that, I've always been longing for in being in America. It's that being able to have a community that really does, if it can't look like me, at least it is unapologetically for me, right? And if you have both, that's, absolutely fantastic. And in some of the places and spaces I was in as a leader, I saw beautiful communities. Like, we don't talk much about the Armenian community. And let me just tell you, the Kardashians are not the Armenian community. Let's get that out of our heads, right? But, some of our Russian Ukrainian communities, I know right now that's, a thing, but remember, there are people who are actually of Russian and Ukrainian descent. We don't even talk about, those folks who have come here, but the community they have with one another is beautiful. And so I've always longed to be able to create something for families to be able to have real conversations with one another and really get to know one another. And so it plays a huge role in how I can bring people together, but also in how I create community for my kids. I want them to see that people from all walks of life really do just want what's best for their families. We're all going through something, and let's not outside tell us who we should and should not relate to, love, connect with. I think that we need to keep, other people out that business, and we decide that for ourselves. So yeah, I think community is huge. And I would also say, like, being in education, when you're in a community with people and their children, I think there is a lot that, we have to appreciate and love about that. Because for someone to allow you into their child's life is one of the greatest honors. And so I've always considered it, an honor and a privilege that parents and community members have considered me, worthy to be able to support their kids as their principal or superintendent, but even now as a family leadership coach and an executive coach and a support for people outside of those spaces.
Wow. Yeah. Community is so important. And now that you're in your 40s and you have gotten to this place in your life, how do you feel in your life right now? Like, I mean, we were talking about perimenopause and all those things, but how do you feel at this stage in your life?
I would say right now, I feel a different kind of freedom, and I'm on my way to liberation. And what I mean by that is I've released the need to fix the things that I now realize I'm not going to fix. And maybe it was never my thing to fix, right? Like, first, when I was in education, like, there was a part of me that wholeheartedly believed that I could almost single-handedly, fix the fact that kids aren't learning at high levels in some of our neediest communities. Like, it nearly killed me because I believed in it so deeply. And then I had to realize, Shelley, you can't save the world. As much as you would like to, like, that's not where God has called you to be. And so let's figure out how we can make this a little bit more manageable. And that led to a lot of stress, trying to be perfect, trying to be this, trying to be that, trying to be the perfect mom, the perfect wife. And I think now in my 40s, I've given up any concept of perfection. And I'm like, I'm at the it is what it is stage of my
right.
Mindset.
Yeah.
Like, honey, I will say, I don't want to curse, but I will, man, I'm in my it phase of life right now. And it's so freeing. Like, that's what I mean by the freedom part. Like, I feel like, I'll release that burden. I don't know why I put that on in the first place. That was stupid. Like, why did I even do that? So there's a certain freedom of trying to release, I can't control things I can't control. And I'm on my way to liberation because now that I've really wrapped my mind around the things I can control, I'm now working on being able to be in a place of financial and mental freedom to be able to do whatever the heck I want, when I want, how I want to do it, with who I want to do it with. And for me, that's my definition of liberation, where I don't have to worry about money. I don't have to worry about, time. I don't have to worry about if I want to do it, I'll do it. And if I don't want to do it, I won't do it, right? That kind of thing. And I'm on my way to that because, what only thing that allows us to do that is having the finances to be able to take care of our lifestyle. Other than that, right?
Yeah, it's so true. One of my mentors told me that financial freedom, that's the thing that's so important. It helps in a lot of ways. So, that saying, it's like with money, people have a hard time talking about money, but but it is important, like you need it to retire, you need it to travel. And if you don't know how to manage it, which is like an ongoing thing for even people in our community because we weren't taught like I wasn't taught at home about finances. But the getting back to your original statement of being liberated, I can feel the liberation in your voice. Like I'm not in the same room with you, but I can hear it. You know what I mean? You can hear when that energy comes across. And like even when you're probably having a bad day, you're still going to try and see the positive side of things. Like, you know,
We'll try.
yeah, we'll try. Right. Yeah.
I love what you just said around, having the financial literacy to be able to do that and it not being something that we share. But I would also argue that as women at our age, we need to stop not being comfortable talking about money. Like sister to sister, woman to woman, female to female. We need to recognize that we are not going to get better at something we're afraid to talk about. We're not going to understand more the rules of the game if we're not even willing to talk about the game. We're not. And so, I feel you deeply when you said, we were not always taught and we don't talk about it. And so how are we ever supposed to learn? How are we ever supposed to grow if not only do we not talk about it, but for some reason we've made it taboo, almost insulting and embarrassing to talk about what you don't know. And nothing could be further not liberating. And I would say that's one of the pieces of my liberation is that I'm at an age now where when I tell you I could care less, I don't care if you think the question is stupid, the other person, I don't know what I'm gonna ask. And I'm gonna keep asking until I figure out what it is you're talking about. Right. And, whereas before I might have been like, oh, well, they might feel I'm stupid. Well, hell, you stupid for thinking I'm stupid. Go on, think that stupid. I'm going to ask my question. Right. And, I feel like at this age, we're like, man, whatever. Whereas before we might have been more concerned
about what people think. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It's true. It's so true. Yes, it is. Yeah.
I found out about this, especially around the stock market. I just started asking people who I thought looked smart questions about the stock. I know it sounds insane. Like I'd be at a restaurant somewhere. I'm like, hey, you look like you invest in the stock market, do you? And they'd be like, yeah, I do. Well, matter of fact, after I realized that, tell me something that I don't know. And they would start talking. And it's dry like, hey, Mom, why are you doing that? It's like he got information that I could use. Why wouldn't I? But I guess that's for me.
You know what? It's so true. I think less about what people think. Like I've done it too, where I'm in a line, I'm at the Tim Hortons and I remember this day, like it was yesterday. You just made me think of this other person I met when I was out too. And I said, I'm like, your daughter's hair is so nice. And then, that started the conversation. And I think, so I ordered my coffee, then she went and then I ran into her again and she's like, oh, come and meet my mom. And it turned into this whole other thing just because I said something to her when I was waiting in line at the Tim Hortons. Like I'm telling you. So like,
you went with her. Yeah. Go ahead. You did good at your peopling that day.
Yeah, I did. Right? So did you. So did you.
Learn how to people.
Yeah.
But yesterday my husband and I are in Lowe's and we're with my daughter and I'm picking out paint colors, but obviously I'm knee deep in paint colors. And if any of you have ever picked a paint color, like we're in it. I mean, now I got 4 different shades of black and I got to find just the right perfect black, right? And they're all say black of some sort, right? Or, 10 different shades of white, but I want whitey, white. I got ultra white. Anyway, I'm standing there looking at, the purples at the time. And my husband is standing right next to me so he can see behind me, but I can't. And so I'm steadily standing. Nobody's saying anything. I'm in my own little world. Finally, my husband looks over. He says, hey, you can use your words. Looking at him like, who are you talking to? Apparently, a lady had been standing there trying to get by. And she says, well, excuse me. I said, oh, okay. And then my husband goes, yes, we can all people today. We're going to learn to people.
Oh, my
gosh.
It was just, yeah.
She's been standing there for, a good minute. Just waiting for you. I was like, and he's like, I wanted to tell her, she gonna be here a while. You see, I'm just marinating. Like, it's gonna take her a minute to choose from the 12 different purples that y'all have given her. So you can stand there if you want to and not say, excuse me, or you can use your words.
Oh my gosh, I am actually just envisioning that because anyone who's listening can relate to that because we've all been there. where even yesterday when I went to Walmart and I was packing my stuff and clearly not fast enough. And then the girl, like the next two girls, they were packing up their stuff. And it's like, I wasn't even there. I'm like, do you not see me? Sometimes I wouldn't even say anything, but I'm like, do you not see me here? Like, I'm not done packing up my stuff, but you're clearly like doing it as if I'm not even there.
Girl. Right. And it's
like the whole manners thing
like
is like,
you can't see me.
Yes.
I'm gonna need you to quit acting like you, or like you're so scared to just regular people. Like, let's not let all this divisiveness and crap that's going on in our world keep us from being regular people. The hellos, goodbyes, thank you, excuse me, hi, how are you? Have a great day. Like those things still work, y'all. And it does, and they're universal across all identities. Y'all can't see me saying that, but just know I said that with my whole chest. So, like, I'm just saying, these things still work. And I think when we get in our 40s is when we finally look around and go, I'm gonna need y'all. I'm gonna need y'all to stop. Maybe that's the auntie age. Like maybe we've officially entered auntie status where we looking at everybody ready to whoop everybody kids. Like even the grown ones, even looking at the grown men, like, boy, don't make me, don't make me take off my chancla and go. Don't play with me. Not today, my friend, and tomorrow don't look good either. I'm gonna need you to people better. Excuse me is the word you were looking for.
I love that. You have to coin the phrase. I'm going to need you to people better. If only we could just say that, you know? You're going to have to use your people skills that your parents taught you. Did they teach you that, you know? Yeah,
those skills, boo-boo. It's the soft skills, them softies. I mean, we got them. Come on. I mean, maybe it's to the point where we just need to make it a gesture. Like we just wiggle our fingers together and be like, okay, soft skills, and we all know. Like it's just, it becomes like the head nod. Everybody know what the head nod means. We gonna just
or just that look.
People.
You know, I'm trying to get through. Yeah.
Trying to get through.
Oh my gosh, that is just too funny. Oh, I love it. This is amazing. Yes, definitely love this conversation and what you bring to the table. So you said you're launching the webinar in May at the end of next month. So, I mean, that'll be exciting. I think I will, depending on what comes with that whole webinar, I might have to consider it, you know, save up my not pennies anymore, my nickels, you know what I mean? So I can join in. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, yes. I mean, that's my goal. And let me just tell you and everybody else, for this first time, it's going to be extremely affordable. It literally is going to be able to cover the cost of my team just to be able to put this work on. But like this is, you know, now I'm at this stage in my career, and maybe other women in their 40s or folks in their 40s can understand, where I'm not as much concerned about making money as much as I am making an impact and leaving a legacy. And so this is what I want to really refine and be able to leave as my gift to the world, if you will. It's like, here's a framework for how to think about this thing called family leadership. And if you want, and it's just 5 very clear pillars that you get to define how you want to for your family. But I need you to understand that all of them need to be taken care of, and you cannot expect the school. You cannot default any of these responsibilities to the school if we want to see, you know, real change happen, if we want to see true, be very proud of what we have produced. Because what I often tell people is raising our families and being our best self is the one job that we all have. It's the most important job, yet it's the job we have the least training in. It's the job we have the least, support, the least amount of guidance to do. No one taught me how to be me, and no one taught me how to raise these kids, which honestly are the 2 biggest things in my life. And I think coming to this age, and for all us to realize that there is nobody that can do you better than you. And there is nobody that God gave those kids to other than you, and gave that, you know, husband or wife or spouse or whoever it is that's in your family leadership community. That's yours. You are an expert in that. And so as much as we can do to be our best at that, you know, it's definitely going to be something that I think all people, it's going to be free to attend the webinar. Please, by all means, come hear a little bit more about it. But most importantly, I would encourage you that if you want to be your best you, if you're still struggling with some of these things, if you're in your 40s and like, look, maybe I haven't gone through menopause or I'm starting to, but what she said about being organized when you get in this bad boy, that hit home in a different way. And I'm hoping to see you there because I'm going to tell you, it does hit in a different way. And had I not had some of these structures in place in my family as I'm right now entering this, honey, I got my bag of vitamins is right here.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to shake it
Oh
for
my
you.
gosh.
Y'all
So
hear that?
the whole bag of vitamins thing. Have you seen like Tia from there's this thing on Instagram for a while back where she was like in her 20s, she was like drinking alcohol, doing the whole thing. And now in your 40s, it's like, okay, you have a fruit table and then all your vitamins, your vitamin D, like you see her just like, yeah, this is 40 now. With all your
I'm like, yeah, hold on, Nikki here.
Oh
That's
my
my
gosh.
bag of vitamins that I have to keep with me and take every day. And it's everything from the iron to the
Oh my
B12 to the
goodness.
once a day to
Yeah.
like you gotta do. And yeah, you're right. You know, we start out, we drink anything. What's that in that cup? I don't care. I'll drink it. Now we're like, hold on, is that organic? Is that alkaline water? Is it what the heck happened to us?
Oh my gosh, Dr. Shelley, you make me laugh. I love it. Your
Really?
personality is awesome.
Did it come?
Yeah. It's an alkaline water. Oh my goodness. How much sugar is in that?
Right? And is it real sugar or is it some of that aspartame stuff? Right? Like we now got all these damn questions. It's like, honey, we straight Strawberry Hill. I'ma need y'all to act like that moonshine that y'all need you to stop. Y'all was drinking beer, toilet water. Like if any of y'all went to them Omega parties back in the day and you drank that
Omega
Omega
party.
oil,
What is an Omega party? Oh my
oh,
goodness.
so Omega Sci-Fi is one of the fraternities that we have
Wow.
here. It's actually international now, but
Okay.
so the Omegas, when you're in college, you go to these Omega and any frat party, like any of y'all that went to a frat party, it's a fraternity, and they had their special juice, and then the Sigmas had their juice, and then you had like the PWI fraternities and sororities would have their things. So my point is, any of y'all who went to college and drank anything in any of these places, I'm gonna need y'all to hush. Because right now we're sitting up here talking about, is it alkaline filtered water? We drink Fiji water. Oh, that has a little too much. I'm watching my thighs. I don't know. What the heck? Y'all serious right now? But yes, we are. We have all the vitamins, the hormones, the oils, ointments.
Yeah,
And
I mean, like now it's true though, because it's like I have to take magnesium to help me sleep. All these things, it's crazy. I just,
Hey, Carlene, have you had to start with the biofreeze, or in the old day they used to call it the big day? Like my air in my back, and I'm like, I gotta wake up and put some biofreeze on it because it hurts so bad. Like nobody tells us these things. So no, when I wake up and my back hurts, I don't want to think about who's cooking breakfast. That needs to be on the schedule. Because if it is not my day, I'm not getting up. That's what I'm talking about.
Hey, at least now, like you said, maybe you don't have to get up that day, right?
Right. But I need to know that because
it's on the schedule.
It's on the schedule.
I have to say this. I feel like it's one of those moments where you said, if it's not on the schedule, it's not happening.
It's not happening. Absolutely. Girl, that is my coin. And so you literally will have kids. My 17-year-old is the worst at it. He'll go put something on the schedule like 10 minutes before it is. So I had to get him one day. I was taking screenshots of the schedule because he's like, Mom, I put it on the schedule. Like, no, you didn't. It was there. Like, this is the kind of fun you get to have when you have a tight schedule. Is now it's like, oh, so you think they're still going to be teenagers. They're still going to do stupid stuff. It's just now not going to be unscheduled.
Which is so great. Oh my gosh, this conversation has been amazing. But yes, we will definitely have you on the show again to talk about closer to the date. Yeah, like even the webinar. And then we'll definitely have to talk about menopause for sure. There's so much to talk about. You are definitely, what do they say? A force to be reckoned with. There we go. Right?
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you for having me. It's been this has been an awesome conversation.
This is definitely been a conversation I will not forget. And so remind us again. So the name of the organization where you help other families get organized is through the leadership.
The name of our nonprofit is www.familylegacy, the number 5.com. That is our website, familylegacy, the number 5.com, and that's for the 5 pillars of courageous family leadership, which is the name of our introductory online course. And it's just an intro to family leadership. And so if you want to join us for the webinar, please, by all means, go to the website, register. You can also find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn. I believe we are also on Twitter. Instagram. And if all else fails, just come on over to the website, send me a message. And yes, you may just get me replying to come and have a conversation about how we can best serve you, your organization, your community, and help us all be more intentional about our family leadership, where we live, where we learn, and where we...
Definitely. Thank you again, Dr. Shelley Jones-Holt.
Diva Tonight with Carlene will be back. Send us a message on Instagram at diva_tonight.